Thank you, and here are our disclaimers. Anti-VEGF antibodies are extremely effective in the treatment of retinal vascular disease, but they require frequent injections, which leads to an interesting dynamic. Every new product with even slightly increased durability tends to dominate the market. And while these antibodies are extremely effective, the long-term visual outcomes stay poor. The reason is the high treatment burden that leads to a high dropout rate. Also, the pulsatile nature of these antibodies may lead to fibrosis and atrophy. At Ocular Therapeutix, we are hoping to address these challenges using a small molecule approach. AXPAXLI is a completely bioabsorbable hydrogel that releases axitinib using our Therapeutix technology. Axitinib is an extremely potent TKI, and because it's so potent, a single injection and a single hydrogel of AXPAXLI is enough to provide consistent and continuous inhibition of all VEGF receptors for up to 12 months. And because it's completely bioresorbable, the product can be injected for a second time without worrying about multiple implants. So coming back to the market dynamics, with the previous new products, we've seen an increase in durability of mere weeks. With AXPAXLI, we hope to add months, which will completely redefine the treatment paradigm. AXPAXLI is currently in 2 phase 3 trials for wet AMD based on strong data in our initial trials. AXPAXLI is the only TKI, sustained delivery TKI, to show monotherapy activity in wet AMD treatment-naive patients, and also to show a 100% rescue-free rate at 6 months. Our first phase 3 trial, SOL-1, is a superiority study comparing a single dose of AXPAXLI to a single dose of Eyecelerator. The primary endpoint is at week 36. It's the percentage of patients that maintain vision at 9 months. Our top-line data readout will be at week 52 and the first quarter of 2026. This will enable us to get 12-month dosing on the label, as also to establish a superiority claim, and while maintaining a SPA that de-risks our trial from a regulatory standpoint. A unique clinical de-risking feature of both our studies is that we use the loading phase to select specific patients for randomization. In SOL-1, patients need to gain 10 letters or stay at 20/20 to qualify for randomization. Our second study, SOL-R, is a non-inferiority study that compares AXPAXLI dosed every 6 months to standard of care Eyecelerator with a third high-dose Eyecelerator arm for masking purposes only. The primary endpoint is at week 56. It is a singular and unblended endpoint. With this study, we hope to get every 6-month repeat dosing on the label, provide commercially relevant data, and this trial is backed by Type C written response from the FDA. This trial also uses the loading phase to select specific patients for randomization. In this case, using the 2 evaluation visits to exclude those patients with significant fluid fluctuations. To repeat, both our studies use super-selected, enriched patient populations to enhance our chances of success. With SOL-1, we select patients that are likely to fail without treatment. With SOL-R, we select patients that are likely to remain stable with treatment. Beyond wet AMD, we are exploring trials in NPDR and DME based on a strong data in a Helios study, where after a single injection of AXPAXLI, no patients in the AXPAXLI arm developed vision-threatening complications at 48 weeks. Besides that, every patient with non-center-involved DME showed visual improvements. To summarize, at Ocular Therapeutix, we are looking to redefine the retina experience. We aim to redefine treatment using AXPAXLI for continuous and consistent inhibition of all VEGF receptors up to 12 months with a single injection, a single hydrogel that's completely bioresorbable. We are redefining developments with complementary clinical trials that use super-selected, highly enriched patient populations and a de-risked regulatory path. Using the combined data from these 2 studies, we will be able to get superiority on the label, every 6 to every 12-month repeat dosing, and to show efficacy comparable to standard of care. Finally, we hope to redefine outcomes, providing AXPAXLI, which is a sustainable non-pulsatile treatment that we expect to improve long-term visual outcomes. We are well-funded. Our IP and infrastructure and manufacturing is completely based in the US, and we have a top-notch team that has been involved in every major product developed in Retina. Thank you for your time.
Any questions? Thank you, Sanjay. I have a question. So clearly, a really exciting landscape. how does your particular TKI fit in our current treatment paradigm? And just logistically, any kind of issues with incorporating this in office procedure?
Yeah, so it's a intravitreal injection like any other. We also have a 25-gauge needle, so no issues with self-sealing. I would say that our TKI is the only one that has shown actually monotherapy activity. So, we expect it to be adopted like any other anti-VEGF drugs. Now, some physicians might decide to use one or two loading doses of other anti-VEGF antibodies, but we are not going to fight that battle. For us, once AXPAXLI is used, we hope to see a dosing regimen of every 6 to 12 months.
Sanjay, I had a question. I think great work and congratulations. Looking forward to results from you. It's a regulatory question. And so if you start to enrich populations and you start to put them in, SOL-1, you said, was enriched differently, SOL-R differently. How does that affect the label then at the end? Because it's no longer, just a straightforward 2032 to 2400 type of population or whatever it is that we normally do. So, I was wondered, because it's sure great to enrich these populations to get the best effect, but then will that show up in the label? I mean, that's way down the road, and it'd be great to get approved, and that's going to come down the road, and we don't have to, maybe you're not worrying about it, but what are your thoughts? Is that going to come into the label?
So the FDA Division of Ophthalmology has historically not restricted labels based on populations. If you looked at, for example, the recent GA approvals, for example, Eyecelerator was only studied in extrafoveal lesions, but the label is not restricted to extrafoveal lesions. Even if you went back to Lucentis and looked at Anchor Marina, those are 2100 or worse patients, but the label does not restrict that. So we don't expect, and based on all our discussions with the FDA, we don't expect any restrictions on a label from that standpoint, at least on the patient populations.
Thank you.